Today, we're talking about this incredible secret to achieving success in life that is about emotional intelligence. We're talking about how important emotional intelligence is and how beneficial high emotional intelligence can be to our career, to our home, to our family. And the exciting thing is we have neuroplasticity, we have learning, we can learn a lot of this. The great thing would be if we grew up and we just picked up all this emotional intelligence over life, but a lot of us don't have that luxury. And so it's something we absolutely can learn. Understanding, learning, and practicing our emotional intelligence can give us an absolutely amazing, meaningful, fulfilling career and home life. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, interpret, communicate, demonstrate, control, and evaluate emotion. All these things to connect with other people constructively and effectively. And so that's kind of a long, wordy definition. What does that look like? So, a highly emotionally intelligent person is a strong leader. They are someone that can see all sides of a situation and make the best decision from those sides. And a lot of times, those sides are emotionally charged and they can handle other people's emotions as well as their own emotions. They can let go of mistakes. They can see when others make mistakes and let go of that. They can communicate when there is a mistake. They're not avoiding any kind of conflict, but they're also not elevating conflict because they aren't taking things very, very personally. They have a level of self compassion and acceptance for themselves and other people. And personally, I believe that emotional intelligence starts with having these things for ourselves first and then for other people, because you can't have things for other people that you don't have for yourself. And it's especially important in managing emotions of our own and other people in difficult situations. That's where it really comes out, when the rubber meets the road, that we see how people deal with things. And at the end of the day, a lot is related to the regulation of our nervous system and all the things we've been through in our life, all these things, our emotional intelligence is based on all this whole kind of cloud of things that is around us, our whole life experience, our whole learning, our whole education, our whole family history, our whole generational history. It all comes with us and comes in the door. And if we can walk in the door with some emotional intelligence, we have this demeanor that it is not demanding of respect, but it is respected because of what it is, because of that emotional intelligence. So these features of emotional intelligence really define a highly effective leader, a wise woman, a cherished wife and mother. Whatever your role is, if you can bring these emotional intelligence features into who you are and take that into your role, that's going to be your living true. That's going to be your designed life, because it's going to be coming from you instead of some preconditioned response or preconditioned reaction. It'll give you the freedom and ability to respond to things in a way that you truly want to respond to them. A lot of times people think, oh, they're smart, so they're going to have a very successful career. But emotional intelligence is really overlooked. There's even the suggestion that emotional intelligence accounts for 75% of the success that we see in our career, and our IQ accounts for only 25% of it. So that's a huge difference in the factor, the importance of these types of intelligence in our success in our career. And a lot of this can be associated with mindset too, because somebody with high emotional intelligence will have automatically a good mindset. It's not something you have to white knuckle and hold on to for your, mindset. It just naturally flows, because if we see things as, I do this as a practice, something that I think is difficult. I'm like, oh, well, that's really challenging. And I consciously have started catching myself and saying, I'm not going to use those words. I'm going to say this is an opportunity. And it really is fun. It's interesting little practice to try. But that is something that we learn with emotional intelligence, to see challenges as, first of all, it's a difficulty, then, oh, no, it's just a challenge. And then finally, oh, wait, it's really an opportunity because there's something on the other side of this. Maybe there's suffering and there's something on the other side of it. And it's crucial because it really helps us navigate these social interactions and truly build authentic lives and authentic connections with other people. Because when you have a level of emotional intelligence, say, I'll use me for an example. I don't like conflict and have in the past defined myself as, quote, conflict avoidant. And it's something I work on all the time and I can't say I've mastered. But if we're emotionally intelligent, it starts to fall away that we're having a conflict and it becomes an appreciation of the other person. Well, they have another viewpoint and I have my own viewpoint, and we can meet and figure out the best way to move forward. And so that is an authentic connection with them versus a, less emotionally intelligent response, which would be just to avoid a conflict. And so that, if you're avoiding conflict, you're not creating any kind of a relationship or connection with this other person. If it's personal, work colleague, anything, it's not a real connection because it's based on this like lie that you're not telling the truth, that you have a different opinion, that you think something else is important in this situation or whatever the thing is. So it really, emotional intelligence really deepens the authenticity of our connections and our expression of life. This is part of our living true by design. We're able to live our truth when we have emotional intelligence about what we're doing and as we navigate our way through life. And then, if we don't practice or learn about emotional intelligence, the opposite is true. We will have somewhat shallow connections and shallow relationships with people. We can end up in relationships that are really strained because over time, if we're not being honest with ourselves and other people, because we don't have the capacity for doing that. And the capacity is strengthened by developing our emotional intelligence. And this can affect our leadership in our home, in our workplace, in our career, because this can really cost a lot as far as leadership, both in the home and career in our professions, because we're basically crippled if we're unable to practice these skills. And then when we're crippled in our career or our home life, we can't be the full expressions of who we are, and it can really get in the way of progressing in the way we want to progress. And so I'm advocating for a change in how we're defining success. And instead of just, a pile of stuff or, moving up the ladder by promotion, I really believe it's time to redefine success as a level of emotional intelligence that contributes not only to us, but to everyone else. And this development of emotional intelligence is fostering connection and fostering empathy and really developing strong interpersonal skills. And all of these things together are essential for a thriving life, for a thriving home, for a thriving family, for a thriving career. And one of these areas is empathy, which is so dear to my heart, so, so dear. And I have learned empathy and I've practiced empathy and I'm still learning. I think it's a life practice through nonviolent communication. And we are going to dive deep into nonviolent communication because I believe it's so effective and such a wonderful strategy for connecting honestly with ourselves, connecting honestly with other people, and really expressing ourselves clearly and honestly, and connecting with other people in ways that are really, really important. Just as a side note, And we'll talk about it later, but one example of a really great way to use this empathetic connection with other people is, by saying thank you. And instead of being like, thanks, I was really happy to see you the other day. Instead of that, we say, thanks for coming by. When you showed up on my birthday and brought me a balloon, it touched my heart because I was really feeling lonely, and it felt really, really good to connect with a friend in that moment. And that's just a very small little example, but that's part of the way that can help, because if we give more granular information, it helps draw us together and have closer connections. Then the other person can really feel what you're saying about appreciation instead of some vague thing. If we're specific about it, it is very meaningful and enriching to relationships and each other. But that's a whole other thing. We're going to talk about MVC a lot more. So, by nurturing the emotional intelligence of ourselves and others, we are not only enhancing the understanding of other people, but we are cultivating a home and workplace environment that promotes collaboration, innovation, connection, well-being, and harmony in our homes and careers. So today I'd like to invite you to practice some emotional intelligence, learn more about it. If there's an area of life that isn't working, I invite you to look at it through the lens of emotional intelligence and how emotional intelligence could really benefit that area of your life. And please come on over and join our Living True by Design Facebook group. We are in there, excited to support you and get to know you and hang out with you and be friends with you. The group is all about learning and support and connection. And I'll be in there giving strategies on how to improve our emotional intelligence. If you want to be in a group of people who are committed to emotional intelligence like you are, come join this group. So stay tuned. Next week, we are going to be talking about a really interesting subject, and it's something I've thought about for years and approached in different ways and tried different strategies. And it's the idea of freaking out, or, people use the term being triggered, but I've thought of it as freaking out for a long time. So we're going to call it freaking out. So we're going to talk about freaking out and the window of tolerance. Have you heard of the window of tolerance before? We're going to talk about how these ideas of freaking out or being triggered and our window of tolerance. Understanding the window of tolerance will help really manage our emotions and our reactive tendencies in emotional or, tense situations. We'll talk about practical tips on how to keep our cool in tough situations, because life throws all kinds of stuff at us all the time. Tune in, because I'm going to tell you my secret technique of stop, drop, and roll when you feel triggered. Because when we feel triggered, we can't think straight because we're actually in a different part of our brain. So we just have to remember stop, drop, and roll. Thanks for joining us. And remember, show up, focus, and shine as you live true by design. Are you feeling overwhelmed by the countless decisions life is throwing your way? Are you tired of the busy home with kids, laundry to do, meals to prepare, and a busy, high-achieving career? Do you want a deeper connection with your partner? If so, the 1-hour Living True by Design coaching session is just for you. It is your guiding light. During this 1-hour coaching call, you'll get a personalized, actionable plan. There will be concrete steps for you to take to step back into your power to be authentic and own your most authentic life and be true to you. Together, let's embark on a journey to design the life you've always envisioned.